Hello everyone, welcome to Political Science class for class 11. Okay, we'll continue from the previous session. We have started from unit 1, that is an introduction to political theory. In the first session we have discussed the meaning of political science, and today we'll start the next topic, that is the scope of political science. Here the meaning scope, it means an area, okay, an area or a subject matter that deals with political science. So today we'll discuss on this 8 points that political science deals with. All right. The first one is political philosophy. When we hear the word political, it's something referring to a government or a public officials. Philosophy, on the other hand, it means a way of thinking. All right, a way of thinking about a society, a world, or a universe at large. So what is political philosophy? Prominent political philosophers, like I've written here, Plato, Aristotle, we have Karl Marx, they gave or they developed important concepts like justice, freedom, rights, equality. All right, they did not only give this concept, but they also talk about how a society or a state has to be organized. All right, their roles and functions. On top of that, they also throws light on how an individual has to behave in a society. Okay, apart from this concept, even modern Indian thinkers like Jayaprakash Narayan, all right, Amartya Sen, they were also influenced with the Western concepts like liberalism, Marxism, and we see that in the Indian government, we see some of these features. For example, a prominent political theory, that is the CPIM. That is Communist Party of India, Marxist. So here we see the influence of Marxism even in the political party of India. All right, so as a student of political science and a political scientist, we cannot afford to miss this important concept that has been developed by this prominent political philosophers. Okay, the next point is organizations of government. When we hear this organizations of government, it's mostly referring to the 3 branches of the government. That is the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. All right, when we are discussing the meaning of political science, we come across the traditional view on political science. For the traditionalists, they gave more importance to law, that is LAW. All right, and when it comes to the behavioral revolution, the behavioralist says that political science should focus on the behavior of the individual or maybe groups, associations, how they behave in a political system, for example, during elections or maybe during emergencies. But still, okay, still the focus of political science is on the organization of government, that is the 3 branches of this: legislature, executive, and judiciary. What is their role? What is the functions? How are power distributed between these 3 organs of government? So the focus, or it's an important sub-discipline of political science. Okay, we'll go to point number 3, that is bureaucracy and its behavior. Bureaucracy here is referring to top government officials, okay, who take important decision making, especially in the administrative field. In India, when we talk about the central executive, that is composed of president, the vice president, prime minister, and the cabinet ministers, for them, in order to function their duties and their roles, they need a permanent agency. Okay, for example, I've given here, the agency is Prime Minister Office. So this is an permanent agency and it is controlled and run by these bureaucrats. All right, for example, the top IS, maybe the IFS or the IPS. In this, a study of the executive to a large extent means a study of bureaucracy. Why? Is because the decisions that has been taken by Prime Minister or its cabinet, mostly this is done by the bureaucrats, the administrators. So how do we understand this bureaucracy and its behavior? By looking or by studying at their appointment. Okay, how are they appointed? How are they promoted? How are they removed? What is their role? And what is their function? In this, to have a better knowledge on this, one can look or one can go and study this UPSC, the Union Public Service Commission, which mostly deals with the bureaucrats. Okay, point number 4, we have judicial system and legal process. When we hear the word judicial, is something dealing with the law, all right? And law here is how are they interpreted, how are they enforced. Okay, interpretation of the law will be done by the judiciary. Okay, here, judiciary. Judiciary is referring to those judges of the Supreme Court, High Court, and the lower courts. So it is their function to interpret the law. Enforcement, who will enforce it? Enforcement will depend on the situation and it will differ. For example, imposition of the curfew in a state, it is the role of the state administration as well as the police force. So enforcement of the law, it will depend, all right? Okay, legal process. Legal process here means the passing of the law. All right, if a particular law is not in accordance with the Constitution of India, that law will be declared as null and void, will not be accepted. Okay, this is legal process. Okay, point number 5, we have representation, elections, and voting behavior. These 3 are closely interrelated and it is an important sub-discipline of political science. Representation. Here it refers to we, okay, the citizens choosing a candidate to represent maybe a constituency, a district, or maybe even a state. For example, representing the state of Nagaland to Lok Sabha or even to the Rajya Sabha. All right. Elections. In India, we held elections periodically, that is after every 5 years. And voting behavior. Every citizen of India who has attained the age of 18 has their right to vote. That is one fundamental right as well as an important political right. So these 3 is a very close link between and is an important sub-discipline of political science. Next, we have political and pressure groups. India, as a democratic country, she has a political party. And we have a multi-party system. That is, we have national party, we have state party, as well as a lot of regional parties. And on top of these different parties, we also have pressure and interest groups. For example, business groups, trade unions, farmers associations. Okay, now the focus here is this. How are these pressure groups and interest group influence the party, political party, okay, especially in the passage of a bill. That is, we'll see how are the pressure groups and the interest group, what is their tactics, all right, how they influence the legislature or how they influence a administrator in passing of the bill to suit their interests, all right. Number 7, we have political culture. The term political culture was coined by Gabriel Allman. Please keep this in mind, it's important. Coined by Gabriel Allman. Here it talks about the study of culture, especially in the political field. For example, study of their beliefs, their attitudes, all right, way of behavior, how an individual behaves in a society. When we see, especially in the Northeast India, the political culture that exists in Manipur is somewhat different than that type of political culture that exists in the South India. Because in Manipur, when there is law and order issues, women takes the forefront in maybe imposing a ban. Yeah, that type is not much prevalent in the southern part of India. So a study of political culture helps an individual or helps a political scientist to know and understand what type of political system exists in that state or in that society or in that country. Okay. The last is world politics and international organization. This is an important concern for the political scientists. For example, issues like strengthening of the United Nations Security Council. In the UNSC, we have 5 permanent members. And when we look at the whole of the United Nations as one body, she has over 193 members. So out of 193 members, she has only 5 permanent. So they want to increase this permanent seat. Okay, the second issue will be peace in South Asia. the recent conflict that is going on in South Asia is this South China Sea. Okay, and the third issue will be on environmental changes, that is climate change. Fourth issues will be global terrorism, example the Taliban's or the ISIS. All these issues, okay, it cannot be solved by a single or two or three countries, but it needs an international platform or where they can discuss in a world politics level or in an international organization. All right, and other issues in the economic field will be a reform in the World Trade Organization. Okay, reforming the International Monetary Fund and even reforming the World Bank. So these are some of the scope or the subject matter or areas where political science is concerned or interested with. Okay, there are a lot more, but I've given these 8 points which comes under the scope of political science. All right. Our next topic is on the meaning and scope of political theory. Okay, the word theory is derived from the Greek word theoria, which means contemplation or speculation. Okay, in other words, theory means an idea or a set of idea. For this, to develop an idea or set of idea, we need a lot of thinking and careful reasoning. All right, the next is, what is political theory? So previously we have said that political is something to do with public, yeah, or government. Theory means an idea or a set of idea. So when we combine these two, it means an idea or a set of idea to discuss or to talk about a political phenomena or a political institution. All right, this is the meaning of political theory. Next is the scope of political theory. Scope again, area or subject matter in which political theory is concerned with. The first is constitutionalism. All right, constitution. In every country of the world, we have our own respective constitution. And a study of that constitution helps us to understand what form of government exists in what type of country. For example, a democratic or maybe a monarchy or maybe a parliamentary form of government. All right. The first, it indicates the form of government. Second, it also talks about powers. How are powers distributed in that country? All right. From the central to the state and the state to the lower, that is the local self-government. It throws light on the power distribution of that country. Third, it also talks about freedom, all rights. How much freedom or how much rights a citizen is entitled in. In overall, a constitution, it embodies an individual's fear, yeah, their aspiration as well as the hope in the country. So this is under constitutionalism. Second point, that is the form of government. We have different forms of government in the world. We have parliamentary, for example, India, monarchy, example, the UK. We have a presidential form of government, that is the United States. Okay, a study on these various forms of government help us to understand the type of government or the type of political system that exists in a particular country, and this is very important in a comparative field of politics. Okay, the point number 3 is rule of law and judicial independence. Again here, law. Rule of law means that every individual, every citizen of a particular country has to be ruled by law. Okay, and this law, no matter how an individual is powerful or an organization or a political party is powerful, they are under the law. This is the meaning of rule of law. Judicial independence here is referring to the judiciary, that is the judges of the Supreme Court, the High Court and the lower courts. Okay, when they are discussing an important or when they are framing a law or making an important decision, maybe in the political or even in the economic field, their decision has to be independent and they should not be controlled or influenced by the executive and the legislature. Okay, that in short, when the judicial or the judiciary is taking an important decision, their views and opinions should not be controlled or should not be blocked by the executive or the legislature. Okay, the next point is conditions of freedom, equality and justice. This is the basis for an individual or maybe a citizen in a society. Why do we need this? It's because we are entitled the right to life, right to we have the right to vote, we have freedom of expression, freedom from arbitrary arrest. These are the basis for an individual to live in a society. Alright, apart from this right, we also have minority rights. Minority rights like the religious right, the rights of the Dalits, the rights of this other backward class, maybe in education or maybe even in monetary field. Okay, so these all rights comes under this, okay, freedom, equality and justice. And new rights. The rights that we have just discussed here has been incorporated or has been in existence in almost all the countries of the world, even in India. But this new rights is of recent origin, okay? Why? Is because the concept of rights is not static. It keeps on changing according to time and according to the environment. For example, new rights under new rights will give the right to life. The Supreme Court of India has recently ruled that the right to life not only talks about the life that we're breathing, all right, it also talks, the right to life, it also comes under this right to proper nutrition, right to clothing, right to shelter, and right to food. So this all comes under right to life. Another example of new right will be right to privacy. Okay, in India, this right to privacy is now our fundamental right. And on the environmental area, we have this right of the ecologies, right of the planet. So these are the new rights that has been developing and is of recent origin. Okay, so these are the scope of political theory, or where the political theory focuses or is more concerned with. There are lots more. I'm giving you only this 5 points under the scope of political theory. All right, so today we'll end here. That is, we have discussed the scope of political science and we have discussed the meaning and the scope of political theory. Okay.